do believe everybody has a passion, but it is so easy to give up. Like you were saying, it's easy just to exist, to sit on the sofa, to tidy your house, live in your own little bubble and not explore everything that is available, even in your 50s and 60s. That life can be better in your 50s and 60s. And hopefully on to my 70s, I hope that I will continue modelling and get more work. I don't see any reason why not. I don't want to just exist. I want to be excited. I want to not know what email I'm going to get tomorrow.
Hey, my name is Lisa Hugo, and I'm obsessed with helping other people find and develop their voices so they can go out and take on the world, be seen as an authority, expert, and speak their truth with utmost confidence because they know that what they have to share will connect with their audience and make a difference. I studied performing arts and spent 20 years of my career traveling the world as a professional singer-songwriter. I teach you the secrets to speak up and be heard, overcome your fears, to build your speaking skills, and learn how you can use your skills to make a change both in your own life and the lives of others. This is your one-stop shop for all things confident speaking. This is Impact Through Voice. Well, welcome back to the Impact Through Voice podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hugo, and our podcast is all about empowering you to find your voice, find your confidence, and go out there and follow your passions. And today, I'm sitting down with Caroline Labouchere, and Caroline is a model, she's an influencer, and she came into this new career in her 50s. Well, welcome to the show, Caroline.
Thank you very much. You definitely speak with confidence.
Well, thank you. So, Caroline, I invited you on the show because you have quite a journey behind you and you have done exactly what I've just said our podcast is all about. You have found your voice, found your confidence, and found your passion. So give us a little intro to yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Well, who even knew that was possible? For a start. I mean, there are so many people out there who don't know that it's possible. And I certainly didn't go out to make this happen. So it's just a list of circumstances that have aligned, and then I've put things into practice to make things better and to aid me, I guess.
So share with our listeners exactly what it is you do now, and then we can go through some of the history behind that.
Right. Now I encourage women via Instagram most of the time, a little bit through my website, to be excited about being 50, 60 to age and be excited about what is possible. That is what I'm doing now. I'm also a model. I started modeling when I was 54. Definitely have brain fog still.
That's my age. So it's amazing that that's possible at this age.
Exactly. And so many people message me and say, you did that, so how do I do it? So I have a group Zoom every now and then and talk to women about how I did it and give them suggestions on how they can do it too.
That's fantastic. So how did that come about? How do you become a model at 54? Share with us.
I think that's, my husband will say there's no such thing as luck. I think that I do believe I was lucky. I was given an opportunity and I went with it. Even though I had never modelled before, for some weird reason, I thought I would be able to do it. And I did, thank heavens. My daughter was working in London and her boss was looking for a grey model and flew me to London and I got the job, which put me in British Vogue 8 times in the first year.
Wow. So how was that? Because to be put out there all of a sudden, if you've not done it before, how did that feel?
It felt absolutely incredible. I had done a shoot unpaid with Mimi because Mimi started modelling when she was 14. And I did a shoot with her and I literally hid behind her. I was not in the right place. I guess I probably was the beginning of menopause at that point, but didn't really know it. And it also at the point in my life where I don't know if you can resonate with this, where you think it's your children's turn. Mm-hmm. You know, you've had your life and now they've grown and they've moved forward, and now it's their turn to have the smart car and whatever they want, and you step back and let them flourish.
So Mimi is your daughter?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, she's 27.
And how old is she now?
27.
Oh, sorry, 20.
Just been married for a year last week.
Oh, congratulations.
Very excited.
to her.
I said, please, can we have a baby now? And my son lives in London, and he's going to be 30 this year.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've been in Dubai for
14 years. Yeah.
And what brought you to Dubai in the first place?
David was in the army, and he came to the Emirate Army as an advisor. So big house, swimming pool, everything. I mean, complete dream to move to Dubai from England.
Yeah.
And yeah, living the life.
So we've all been through that, but I hear it wasn't permanent.
No, but I'm kind of pleased that it wasn't, because that isn't reality. And that part of life almost made me want to leave Dubai, because it wasn't real. And I wanted to possibly go back to England. Wasn't really sure where, but I wanted to start a real life with a real home, and bearing in mind that we had never owned our own home at that point, because we'd always rented, being military. And you have to, I don't know how people have all of that given to them and live it for years and years and years and years. How do you go back to reality? How do you leave here and go and you don't have a cleaner and you don't have a nanny, because no one wants to do those jobs in England?
It's a good question. And my mum has always said to me, you'll never be able to come back to normal life. And I say, of course I will. Of course I will. I grew up in a normal life, so I could transition.
But they don't have they do have InstaShop. But if we went to live in the country, they don't have InstaShop. And this is what I'm saying to David. He said, we can go and live in the middle of nowhere in a field. And I was saying, but how are we going to get our groceries?
So I resonated a lot with you as well. I was listening to some of your journey, and I know you went through a really tough time where you didn't have all of that. And I'd like to tap into that, because I went through a very similar journey myself just a few years back. And so I think it makes us grow and makes us understand more about what we really like, who we really are, and what's important to us. So are you open to share a bit about that experience?
Yeah, and I think I did learn so much about myself. And there are things I look back on and don't particularly like about myself back then. I feel really uncomfortable saying it, but I guess life was about me. You know, I was a bit back then, having been given this amazing house and given this, that and the other, and not that I'd had that for all of my life, not my childhood, but coming out here and everything's given to you on a plate, and that isn't reality. So I'm kind of grateful for that crash of David losing his job and us not having anywhere to live. We had bought land in Canada, and we had just paid it off. And then David lost his job, so we literally didn't have any cash. We had some land in Canada, but that was going to take a while to sell, and so we literally had no cash. So somebody very kindly lent us their apartment that was empty, and the AC didn't work very well. And Mimi was sleeping on a sun lounger, and the dogs were sleeping in a suitcase on either side. It was quite shocking for me. Yeah.
And that then puts a strain on everything, on the relationship.
The biggest strain on the marriage ever.
Yeah.
The closest we've ever come to divorce. And we've now been married for 33 years. Yes, I lost respect for David. I wasn't kind. But I had been brought up to be a wife. I had been brought up to believe that your husband looked after you. And therefore, he suddenly wasn't. And it just took me a while
But how did he feel?
realise.
This is something which I had to realize
Well,
because I didn't really
didn't
take it
that
into consideration about how my husband was feeling, not being able
Exactly.
to be the provider and
Yeah.
not being able to do what he was ingrained to do and what we sort of expect through
Yes.
society.
And he was going to coffee shops and sitting with his computer and applying for jobs, and he'd come back and I'd be thinking, how many jobs did you apply for? I've been sitting in a coffee shop all day. And it was not a good period of life, but I did learn from it.
Yeah, and this was a part of the transition, right, to then get into the modelling. Am I right that opportunity came around that time?
It was part of the transition, but that is because I spoke to a tarot card reader friend of mine in Swindon, where we used to live near Swindon, and I had seen her a few times there, and her name popped up on Facebook. I did Facebook back then, talking quite a while ago, and I called her. I thought, what can she do over the phone? What can you're not sitting there and turning the cards over yourself and touching them. And so anyway, I called her, and she said, you need to take control. And that was the seed that was planted that made me think, okay, I need to take control. He is not in control, and I can't expect him to be right now. So it wasn't immediate. It wasn't, oh, David, I love you. I'm so sorry. All of that airy-fairy stuff. It was a transition, but it certainly was a seed.
So what were you doing before all of this and before what you're doing now?
I was a school receptionist.
So that's very different.
Very different, yes.
And would you say that you were almost a different person back then?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely. Oh, definitely. And everybody who knew me then, I had alienated a lot of people during that period of time when we were homeless. And I'd been on citalopram, my happy pills, as I call them, for many years. And I went cold turkey off those because you had to have a doctor's appointment and buy your prescription every month. And it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I was pretty depressed and cried a lot, and
Which
I wouldn't have been a very nice person to be around, would I? And I just I didn't want to have friends. I didn't really want to talk to anyone.
It's a difficult phase.
Yeah.
I know because I've been through it.
Did you cry?
I took the reins because that's what I'd always done.
Amazing.
And I'd always been an entrepreneur and run my own businesses. And so I just had to step up to the mark, and I said, okay, we've got to keep going. We've got to still keep paying the bills. So I just basically overloaded myself with more and more and more clients and more work.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Well, David would
I
have
will say
preferred to have you, I think.
I was proud that I could keep it going, but that was a tough thing for my husband also to be able to swallow.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah. Because we've got 2 teenage girls as well, and life in Dubai is not inexpensive.
And they have expectations too.
Yes. It was a real transition for them as well to realize the value of money, to realize that you can't just go out and buy anything and everything, and that you have to think twice about, do we really need this? Can we really afford this? No, we have to go without.
Yes.
And that was a learning
good
curve.
lesson for them.
Yes, but I think my youngest became scarred through that, scarred about money, and I think she has almost that real fear of spending now, a bit extreme.
I wonder if my daughter's got that. She likes to spend my money and not hers.
Tell us about the experience of going to London and being pampered.
Wow. I got there and I was the only one, which is very different in modelling. When you're with a group of women, it's very different to being the only one. And I literally felt like a star. From the moment I arrived, I was collected from the airport, taken to a very nice hotel. And the next day, taken off, and I had a dressing gown, and I had big comfy slippers, and a fabulous makeup artist, hairdresser. For me, it would have been a little girl's dream. Really, not everybody's bag, but something that I would have dreamed of if it had occurred to me that I could do it, but it never did.
would you say that, or would you encourage women of any age to go and get a photo shoot?
I think it definitely puts you out of your comfort zone. I did a neighbour I don't know very well was going to get some photographs taken by a photographer who has photographed me here. Fantastic woman. Natalia is her name. And she was really scared. She had never done anything like it before, but she loved my shots and wanted to try. And so I took her into the garden with her phone and showed her what she looked like from the front and what she looked like if she turned her hips slightly sideways. So just getting her to be more aware of how her body moves and what it looks like as you move it around on her phone. And I think if you've got that little thing inside you that says, I've always wanted to, then for sure. But I'm not really keen on these sort of glamour pictures. Go for something a little bit arty that you can put on a wall rather than something lying on a fur rug. You're not going to be able to get. You're going to find it in the drawer and go, oh my God.
I wasn't referring to those kind of photos that you keep
but
in
you
the
know
drawer.
what I mean.
I know
I
know exactly what you mean. But I personally feel that when you do go and be professionally photographed, it builds your confidence.
Oh, yeah.
It really does. When you can see back, oh, wow, I don't look so bad when I've got the right lighting and the right angle.
And it isn't necessarily makeup. It is the right lighting. It's being directed. I love it when a photographer has a say, has some input. So, because you can stand there sometimes and just, you're moving around all over the place. And these days you can't necessarily hear a click, 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 click on a camera. So you think, well, okay, I'm moving around. Are you actually taking pictures?
Right.
I don't know. Did you take one? So find a photographer, and I can give you Natalia's details. Fabulous black and white. And she does videography as well. She has somebody who can come along and do that. So you have behind the scenes, and it is beautiful work. She worked for Yves Saint Laurent for years, and so she has a great eye. And she can advise on clothes, but really classy shots that you will want to hang.
So it's a whole process, really. You have to know how to stand, how to hold yourself when I'm talking about professional photographs in the modeling space, not maybe lifestyle shots and things that you would use. So in my instance, I'm not claiming to be a model, but if I go for a photo shoot, I need these for my website. I need these for my social, for other purposes, just to show who you are.
Yes.
But when it comes to professional modeling, it's very much about how you hold yourself, right? Did you ever learn that?
No, I didn't. Might have come in handy a few times.
Sure.
Mimi's great. When I work with her, I watch her, and there's always room to learn for sure. But there are little things like people will say to you, your neck's disappeared. You think, oh. Okay.
Or hold your chin
so
up.
if you hold
just...
your chin up, or what's it? You put your tongue to the roof of your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that helps with this.
Which lifts up that little bit there. Just little tricks, and if you stand straight on, you're going to look wider than if you move your hips sideways. So, yeah, just try it. Get your phone out, like all the teenagers do, like all the young people do, and just play around. You can delete them all afterwards. But no, if you want to do it, life is full of experiences, isn't it? And experiences round you. So, yeah.
So this is one of the things that when I'm working with clients, I encourage them, because we are always held back by fear. We're held back by the things that we don't know and stepping outside our comfort zone and doing things which don't feel like us. And I'm always saying, if you're not prepared to stretch yourself, if you're not prepared to exaggerate things and do things differently, then you'll always just stay where you are. I even have this saying, we have to always DSD. We always have to do something different. We want to grow
Yes.
and develop and find new
Nothing
opportunities.
is going to change
Yeah.
if you don't do something
But
different.
I
That's absolutely
think we
right.
get stuck in this comfort zone through all areas of life. When coming to Dubai, I mean, that was my third, fourth country that I'd lived in. So it was exciting. It was new. But I'll say now I've become very comfortable after 17, 18 years here. And the idea now of moving on, because I haven't done it for a long time, it's scary.
It is, but we honestly have the best of everything here.
We do.
We really
true.
do. And it isn't just making it up. I mean, you can just sing the praises from moving Shakespeare Road over pretty much overnight to, I don't know, getting your petrol delivered.
Oh, yes.
For goodness sake.
I know. When you talk to anybody else.
During Eid, you could get a goat delivered by Kareem. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yes. Literally on the app, you could get a goat delivered to your door.
Right. Well, if you need that.
Yeah.
So you're now using your newfound life, basically, to help other people to find and grow outside their comfort zones, right? How do you do that?
Yes, it's about finding a passion, isn't it? And I do believe everybody has a passion, but it is so easy to give up. Like you were saying, it's easy just to exist, to sit on the sofa, to tidy your house, live in your own little bubble. And not explore everything that is available, even in your 50s and 60s, that life can be better in your 50s and 60s. And hopefully on to my 70s, I hope that I will continue modelling and get more work. I don't see any reason why not. I don't want to just exist. I want to be excited. I want to not know what email I'm going to get tomorrow. To travel, to see all the animals. I keep coming across animals I've never even heard of, like a flying panda. I know. So, there are things out there that we don't know about that it's just exciting.
But okay, what would be your most memorable shoot?
Probably the first one.
Right.
Because it was so incredible, and they wanted my hair, I think, to be shorter, and it was very long. So it all took the process was very long. They did lots of little plaits and curled them all up behind my hair and then put another piece on top. It was just... It was just a dream. I don't know if it'll ever happen again, but then every time I have a shoot, I don't know if it's going to happen again. And every shoot is different. But that adds to the excitement.
Is most of your work now in Dubai, or you still travel?
I'm trying to work more in London. I'm working in Turkey next week. Okay. I worked in the Maldives a few weeks ago.
Nice.
I know. So all over the world would be great. But I think there are more grey people in Europe. There's more people in the pool of the grey world. But I also think that once you're in your 50s, 60s, and you're modelling, you have become your own identity. You have a look. That's your look, unlike the plethora of 20-year-olds who all look very similar. I think we all look quite different, and our characters show in our faces more.
I think we are younger at this age than
we've ever been.
Yeah, than previous generations.
Yeah.
And when I looked up to somebody who was 50, I thought, that's ancient.
I know,
and
that's
now,
it.
if I would think that other people are looking at me and thinking, oh, she's ancient.
I know.
But I don't feel in any way older.
You are middle-aged.
Yes, I agree. And I'm just coming into finding all of those passions and things that I really want to do now that my kids are, they're in their late teens and they're going to start going off and doing their own thing. Then it's really important to have something that lights you up, something to work towards. Yeah.
Yeah, something that makes you get up in the morning, other than the dogs.
Yes. So your husband, David,
Yes.
he's a coach.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he coaches CEOs.
Right. So that was his transition then from
the military. Yes.
into this.
Exactly.
And so was it through this tough time that he then found that new
that
side
was
of
a COVID
himself?
thing.
Okay.
He started when he left the military. He started training because he's a triathlete. He's an Ironman world champion, and so he was able to train people in triathlon. He still trains a few people just because he loves it. But other than that, he coaches CEOs because he knows how lonely it was when he was a brigadier in the army to be at the top and not have anyone to talk to. So, yeah, he's very good at that. Not me, though. Don't be coaching me.
And the sport, is that something that you do together?
We ran 100 kilometers together.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that was quite a feat. And I can honestly say I've never loved him as much as I did at the end of that. We finished at 2:00 in the morning. It was in England, Swindon, where was it? Oxford, Swindon. And it was very, very tough. 16 hours.
That's insane.
Yes.
I mean, people talk about
marathons. We did not
marathons.
expect it to take so long. We thought it would take around 10 hours. But not having trained in England, we were not ready for it.
And why?
I love to have a challenge every year. It doesn't matter what it is. I just like to have a challenge. So I had done a 56-kilometer race in South Africa. And from there, it seemed only sensible to do something silly like 100 kilometers.
Why not?
Why not? Yes. But then, David's doing this, he said was much harder, but his Ironman takes him, 10 and a half hours? You're allowed 17. And he wants to be one of the oldest people to ever do a triathlon. So he will be one of those people, I guess, around 17 hours by the time he does it.
So it sounds like you're both, very competitive and like to have these challenges, which makes you a good match, right?
Yes, we want to stay fit. We want to stay lean. And our body shape is important to us, both ways. Him thinking about me thinking about me, and vice versa. It makes us happy to be lean and look after ourselves. It's always been part of our lives, actually. I like to think of it as going back to sort of caveman era. I picked him, and I think he picked me because he thought we had good genes.
Right.
And so when Mimi was single, I would say to her, right, we need long legs. Whoever you marry, you have to get the long leg gene because we're missing it. So because although my husband's tall, I always say to him, your legs, you've got a long back and short legs. We need long legs. And funnily enough, her husband has long legs, so she did a really good job. Well, I don't think she did that on purpose.
I think we're attracted to something similar that we've had in our parents.
Yes, yeah. But I do believe that going back, you chose somebody who you knew could catch food for you.
I've never thought of it that way. I'm going to be honest.
But
no.
We so believe this in our family.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I just have always, as I said, been my own boss and always been my independent self. And so when I met my husband, it was never about, are you going to be able to provide for me? We would just work together.
I know my husband would catch the best food if he had to go
I
out
don't
there
think
and
mine
run around
would
and catch
actually
it.
at all if I would think of it that way. I don't
But
think
you'd
he'd be
just
a very
be
good
running
hunter.
everybody. You'd just be sending them out at certain times. Who would be going out and checking for tigers?
Honestly, I've never even put my mind into that. But okay, if we were forced into it, then I guess it would have to be, right?
Yeah.
It's survival of the fittest.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm a believer in.
Yeah. So
sorry, I know we went really off on a tangent.
We did. I want to go back to this confidence that you've found now in this stage of your life, compared with where you were before, working as a receptionist in a school. And have you ever thought, why did I not find this earlier? Or
I didn't need to,
okay.
or I didn't know I needed to. I didn't know it was an option. And I didn't need to because I was the one walking behind David.
Right.
So even though I had his number in the army, I was wife of 517,
Okay.
and I couldn't do anything without that number.
Wow.
So that was part of being groomed, being put in a box. And that was absolutely fine because that's what I was brought up to do.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it. Or back then, somebody had to do it. And it was absolutely fine. And I didn't know. So I would never go out in the evening by myself without him.
Would you now?
Oh, I do it all the time
Right.
now. I get in my car and I even say thank you to my Mini and I say, I'm so brave. Because it's very different. Mum is exactly the same and still is the same. She won't go out in the evening. Daddy's not around anymore, but she doesn't really go out very much.
Right.
But all through my childhood, I remember that.
Okay. Yeah, and we are influenced by what we grew up with. I always talk about this even with our voices. We end up sounding like the people that we grew up with. And if you didn't have good influences, then we end up sounding not necessarily effective in the way that we can speak. And it's something that we can learn and improve on.
It is absolutely something that you can learn. And when it starts to grow inside of you, hopefully you will like it and realize that you do have choices.
Yes.
Everything is about choices. What is the choice? I have a choice to not eat carbs, for example, or eat carbs and put on weight. That's a choice. I'm not natural. I mean, I guess I'm naturally slim, but I could put on weight if I wanted to. I prefer not to, therefore I don't eat carbs.
Any carbs?
I'll occasionally have a bread roll if I'm out to dinner and it looks warm and smelly. And so I never say never, but on a daily basis, I don't do sugars or carbs. That is a family choice, pretty much, that we have made. And being happy is a choice, isn't it? Waking up in the morning and think, oh, it's another Tuesday. Or how amazing it's another Tuesday.
Yes,
how lucky am I to be here and the sun is shining and
so positive self-talk.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
So I have affirmations and I have a vision board. And I also listen to audiobooks in the car. Okay. Yeah.
So who's your go-to author or
I listen to The Secret. Sounds a bit corny. You know, The Secret. Oprah, it was an Oprah thing back in the 80s.
Yes, okay.
So I dabbled in it when Oprah sort of started it, I guess, back then. And my husband was not having any of it back then. And so I just kind of dabbled and left it. And I've come back into it big time now. And I just love listening in the car. I don't have music. I just have that talking.
So that's inspiring for you, motivating.
And it tends to be, it comes because I have it on auto loop. The right bit tends to come up for whatever moment I need it.
Okay.
And even if it's thinking about the traffic lights changing or wanting a parking space in the mall, you know how people believe they're going to have a parking space, it's not going to be an issue.
Okay.
Or you go into the mall and you just think, I'm not going to find a parking space.
Right, yeah.
So I just love that positivity.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's really important. But I will say, driving here, I got every single traffic light, and I'm going, no.
Because you can't, and that's not the way to react.
Wow, great! I get a little pause again.
Yes.
I'm not in a hurry.
There's generally a reason. So I think the author says that she leaves her keys in the house, and she goes back to get her keys, and the phone rings. I mean, back in the day when you had a phone in the house. And there was a reason she had to answer that phone. So that phone call. So there's always a reason for something
happening.
Yeah. I got a parking spot right outside.
Wonderful.
I was slightly worried about getting a parking space here, but didn't need to worry at all.
No. I want to hear about you're now using social media as a way to connect with other people and
Yes.
and
this
inspire.
is really important because I'm able to speak to some amazing people because of my following. No other reason than that. But oh my gosh, these people that I managed to contact know their stuff. And I believe anything I'm going through, there are going to be a lot of people out there who are going through the same thing. So we started talking about menopause, about 5 years ago, I suppose. And I think in some ways it's overdone now. People are a bit bored of it. But I think the youngsters still need to be talking about it.
I think this age group still needs to understand it because I've got friends coming into it who still don't really understand what the symptoms are or how their body's going to react and what it's even about. And it is a tough time of life.
It is. Mentally, it is very, very tough.
You start to feel like you're losing yourself. You get brain fog. You feel like I'm no longer comprehensive, unable to.
But we don't worry about visceral fat. We don't worry about fat around our organs. So you can be slim and you can still have fat inside you. If you dealt with that situation and then people say, oh, but it's too expensive to get a scan. Yes, it's expensive to get a scan, but you're going to potentially give yourself another 20 years of life. And if you don't do that, you're going to end up in an old people's home, probably. So do these things. Yes, it isn't cheap, but just do it. You only have to do it once to see if you're fat inside and move forward from there.
Right.
So this see a good dermatologist. That's another thing that drives me crazy. It isn't necessary to have spots. I didn't see a dermatologist until I was, 52? Why? Why did I not send my daughter to a dermatologist in her teens? Not that she was very spotty, but working in a school, so many spotty kids. They don't have to be.
But you don't look like you would ever have any skin issues.
My skin is better now than it has ever been. And I was one of those sunbathing tinfoil people.
Well, I grew up in Australia.
Mum.
Exactly, yeah.
You didn't do tinfoil in Australia?
I didn't do tinfoil, but I did baby oil.
Oh, yeah, baby oil. Yeah. That's a thing.
Yeah. Terrible. We didn't know back then.
No, there's a lot to learn. So I'm very lucky that I get to speak to these incredible doctors and they share their information, and finding the right doctor is a minefield. I have a list of menopause specialists on my Instagram from all over the world. Okay. And if you can't find one near you, then DM me and I'll put a story out there and I will find somebody who is pro HRT, so you don't have to do HRT, but you need to get both sides of the story.
So I think that's something for another entire podcast. I know there are some people out there with podcasts on this topic, but I think it's very valuable for all generations to understand.
And men.
And men, absolutely.
Yeah,
men,
sons, and I would say I come across a guy was interviewing me on a podcast, and I said, well, so when did your mum go through menopause? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, ask her.
But men also go through a version of menopause, andropause as well, that they don't really understand when they hit a certain mid-age.
Is that when they buy their sports cars?
Possibly. But they also get this brain fog and the confidence drops. I've had lots of executives and leaders come to me who have said, I've always been good at public speaking. I've always been confident, but now I'm losing my confidence. I don't trust my ability to be able to go out in front of an audience. And I think it has something to do with the changes that we are all going through mentally in our bodies. And I think men go through an element of it as well. It's just not talked about either.
Yeah, and the same with breast cancer. Men get breast cancer. And yet it is never talked about or rarely talked about. We have Breast Cancer Month, the pink month in October.
Yes.
Does anyone mention men?
No, it's never. It's so true. Yeah.
They are left out.
So what's next for you? Where do you want to go next?
Who knows?
What about for you challenging yourself in another area? Do you have anything you would really aspire to do?
I'm going to keep talking to experts because I'm never going to be an expert. I don't want to go back and study and do anything like that. I'll leave that stuff up to the experts, and I will allow them to share their information with people. So I guess it's introducing people to people that they really should know.
That's valuable.
Yeah.
And you're doing this mostly via your social channels, right?
Yes.
So Instagram is
Instagram, yes.
your
A bit of
go-to?
YouTube.
And what's the response from people, like in your feeds and your comments? And
It's good.
Emails.
I rarely get anything negative, but it will be. I had one on my latest post, and that was, "You're 59, but you look 79." Yeah,
That's just
and
somebody
it'll
who's
be
jealous.
maybe I get one of those a month, but that's the sort of comment it'll be.
Well, I'd say you're 59, but you look 39.
Well,
You look
thank you.
amazing.
Thank
and
you.
I absolutely think your hair color is stunning.
Thank you very
But
much.
I don't think it looks grey as such, with silver, whatever we want to call it nowadays. I know it's becoming more of a thing. I've thought about it. What am I going to do when I start getting more greys coming through? Do I do it? Do I embrace it? Do I not? And
Your
I
family
haven't
have to be on
decided.
board. Your family and your friends have to be on board, because if they're not, it's hard.
Yeah.
Because I came to Dubai grey 14 years ago. I had
So you
very
went grey
short
very early
grey
then?
hair. My mum was grey in her 20s, so I'd been
Right.
brought up with it.
Okay.
And then when I got to Dubai, everybody said, "You can't be grey in Dubai." So I dyed it, went blonde,
Oh,
wanted to fit in.
yeah. So my mum is 84 and she still dyes her hair. So I guess I've
And what colour does she dye it?
sort of brown, my color basically.
Oh, really? Quite dark.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe a little lighter now, more into the goldy browns. Yeah.
And I think do you know what? You're reminding me, my granny died when she was 97. And I think she pretty much dyed it up to the day she died. And she wouldn't go anywhere unless she had it done. And she would say,
Oh, yes.
"Just wait until I put my face on.
Yes.
Can't go anywhere until
Or
I
the
put my
rollers.
face on." Yes. Yes, very much sort of Queen Elizabeth type
Yes.
hairdo.
Yes.
So you need the rollers.
So I think it comes down to style and how you style yourself as well, because you can allow yourself to go natural,
Yes.
but you can look much older through that because of the way that you style yourself. Also, skin and everything has to do with
Yes,
it. And as we
the way
talked
you
about,
walk. The way you walk, the way you...
weight and all of those things.
Yes.
Yeah, add to
because
it.
it is expected to put on weight when you're menopausal. And again, women accept it, but it isn't something you have to accept. I really believe that. And walk around like you flipping own the place. You know, don't just shrivel and disappear. And the fact that I went natural with my hair doesn't mean to say that I'm totally natural everywhere else.
Okay.
I'm not I didn't do it for any green reasons. I did it because it's the easy option. Because when you're 50-50,
Yeah.
how boring is it going to the hairdresser and spending all that money and having to go far too often?
Right.
So it was just, it really didn't bother me.
So for
at all.
somebody who wants to take this route, what's the best way to transition?
The grey route,
Yes.
I went ash blonde.
Okay.
So I went ash, and then the grey sort of starts to mingle in with it. And if you wear it back, you don't have that, that line.
Yep. Then you still have the line around your face, right?
Well, it depends where you're going grey.
Yeah. Okay.
The front, I think, was shorter, so that transition was easier, whereas the rest of it was longer. No, I didn't. I went short. I went about this short to go grey this time.
Right.
So if you can bear to cut it,
Yep.
because it'll be easier.
Yeah.
I also do have some grey colourists on my Instagram, grey hairdressers who have been recommended, not people that I have worked with. And then listen to Jack Martin. Jack Martin is the god of grey transitions. He took Jane Fonda grey,
Okay.
and I've interviewed him a couple of times. His mum lives in Dubai, actually, although he lives in LA.
Great.
So, yeah, there are plenty of people out there. It's just finding the right people, talking to each other. Even you either get on or you don't get on. And if you get on and you take one thing from that conversation, that's all you need. And you never have to cross paths again. But we need to talk to each other and learn from each other.
It's so true. That's why I love this podcast, because you get to have conversations, meet new, really interesting and inspiring people. And I encourage anybody to take that route. If you really want to get out, find your voice and meet interesting people, podcasting is a wonderful way to do it too. Or be guests on podcasts.
Yeah. And people say, I can't afford to start a podcast, or I can't afford to join a group. Start your own group.
Yes.
Because there will be other people in the same situation as you.
Yes. Yes.
So it's being proactive, isn't it?
That's right. Being in control and in charge of your own destiny. Instead of just accepting, you can find the path. You can be in control. Yeah.
Yes.
Caroline, it's been amazing having you on the show. So if people want to follow you, tell us your Instagram handle.
Caroline Labouchere.
Okay. And
the same on YouTube, Caroline Labouchere. I can't make anything up. It's just as it is.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for inspiring, and thank you for just sharing who you are, being natural and being yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. Congratulations, you've just finished another episode of Impact Through Voice. You're well on your way to making a positive impact in the world with your voice. If you want more, head on over to lisahugo.com/podcast for show notes and all the links that we mentioned in this episode. Until next time.